So, thanks as usual to the organizers, in particular to Eric. It's wonderful to be the next speaker after you. I guess I can add some supporting footnotes. We seem to agree on the basics. I've been asked to speak for 5 minutes. I think, given the way this conference, which I enjoy tremendously, is going, for a change, it's nice if somebody sticks to a time limit. So I can do it because we've produced a book, so you can read the rest in there. The answer to the question is yes, but there is a serious condition. As long as policy is informed by old economic thinking, no way we'll get there. In order to get there, we need to inform policy by new economic thinking, and that's not going to be easy, and we academics have a massive responsibility there, also because we economists are certainly, and I use the word consciously, guilty of having misinformed not every and all policies, but key policies here. So, that was minute one. Old economic thinking leads you to look at the economy as one equilibrium system characterized by unavoidable trade-offs. The structure of the climate problem in old economic thinking is very clear. There are damages out there in the future, and if you do the numbers correctly, you understand that the economically relevant dangers are all beyond 2100, and some much beyond 2100. In the coming decades, if you want to avoid these long-term damages, you have to accept the cost. And the cost comes in terms of less growth and less consumption. So the problem of climate policy, given the fact that it's a global problem, is one of burden sharing. We have a generation of well-trained negotiators on this planet. Many of those I do know, and they are friends. Their task is go into the negotiation and make sure that your country minimizes the burden it has to share, and make sure the others have to maximize their burden. As these people are skilled, the result is gridlock. That's where we are, and that's where we'll stay as long as policies will be informed by old economic thinking. And I believe this to be nearly as serious as what's going wrong with the financial crisis. Nearly as serious, I'm happy to discuss whether perhaps it's even more serious. That was minute two. New economic thinking enables you to understand that in the economy, to put it in theoretical terms, and I'll not expand on it here, but perhaps in the discussion we'll see, the problem is not simply one of scarcity. We do not live in a world of fully utilized resources such that there's a trade-off each and everywhere. The problem is also one of coordination. There are possible ways of coordinating ourselves as human beings on this planet such that the economy reaches another equilibrium. And the other equilibrium, in fact, is superior in the present. It's not only superior 200 years down the line, it's superior in the present. Just to make you think a moment about how dramatic this is, if you try to assess how many human beings would be able to perform productive, reasonably competitive work on this planet today, there's no doubt it's more than 3 billion. If you try to assess how many people are actually doing this, there's no doubt it's less than 2 billion. We are nowhere close to something like an efficiency frontier on a planetary scale. This alone should be sufficient to understand that yes, there must be other equilibria out there. Yes, we are trapped in some inferior pattern of coordination. So much about new economic thinking. Minutes to 30 seconds. I did a lot of research on Germany, and I keep doing it. I work very closely with government here, and it's a pleasure working with them, because we both share the view that these problems are so messy, so complex, to put it in more noble terms, that it's completely unrealistic to expect researchers to come up with the beautiful, neat theory, the well-designed master plan, and then Frau Merkel saying, thank you, now we implement, and then everything is fine. It's not going to work like that. On the other hand, it's simply not true that we know enough to solve these problems. The only thing we can do is to learn by doing. We have to try things, and as they say at McKinsey, watch what works and reinforce that. But I'm very glad that you could leave that straitjacket, but that's another story. I did not want to go into German numbers simply because of the time constraint, but I think it's worth looking at one figure for Japan. This is Morgan Stanley's outlook for energy use in Japan. Total demand, they believe, will come down for various reasons. There's nothing revolutionary in this forecast. That's completely middle of the road. Nukes go down because of Fukushima. There's not a big uproar in Japan, but there's a very, very clear debate in the Japanese elite. This was enough of a warning. Japan is not very rich in fossil fuels, has no intention, for good reasons, not to make itself massively dependent on fossil fuels. So, besides the total energy use decreasing, they need to expand renewables. Now, as you may know, Japan, since more than 2 decades, is fundamentally in a liquidity trap, is operating way below its economic potential. This may be the opportunity for Japan to get out of the liquidity trap, to find investment opportunities so that, I don't say they go back to the 10% growth rates they used to have some time ago, but at least a bit above the dismal record of the Japanese economy today. The same, I submit, and if you want in a discussion we can go into it, and someday it will be very important, is true for Europe, including Germany. That was minute 4. As I said, we did a book. Among the co-authors is Diana Mangalaju, who is sitting there. David Tabara, a researcher in Spain at the Institute of Environmental Sciences and Technology in Barcelona, the largest Spanish research institute in the field. Klaus Hasselmann, who is one of the grand old men in climate sciences. When I asked Hartmut Grassel what is the single most important resources that help to propel German climate science to world-class level, he said, there's no doubt, the brain of Klaus Hasselmann. And Gerd Leipold, former Director General of Greenpeace International. We've tried to spell out the kind of argument that I just sketched. So you find it on Amazon, you find it on the internet, it's not very difficult. And I'm around and would really like to think about these issues together in order to learn fast enough so that the answer to your question, looking back a few decades from now, will be, thanks to the INET people, we made it. Thank you.